So I'm going to go ahead and get started with a screen share. My name is Sarah McKay. I'm the Executive Director of Orange County Arts Council. And this year, we are very happy that the total amount of grants that we're going to be able to award has been increased a little bit since the pandemic. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the grant and the guidelines, and then I'll go through the frequently asked questions. And if you want, I can even go through the budget form, because I know a lot of people had questions on that. So we'll go through accessing the website, and also, like I said, the budget review form if time permits. So the amount of these grants range this year from $750 to $2,000. And these grants are designed to encourage the growth of new arts and cultural opportunities in Orange County. Now, people have asked what we define as new, and new can be any projects that are under 5 years old, or adding new and enhanced elements to projects that have been previously grant awarded. So for example, if you are presenting a film festival and you've applied for that film festival for the past 3 years, what is going to be more immersive this year, or what's going to be different and more engaging to the community? These grants are administered by the Orange County Arts Council, and like we said, funded through the donations of Wesley Kruger Family Foundation. This year, and the same as last year, priority will be given to projects that focus on community engagement. And we'll talk a little bit more about what community engagement means, but we're really looking to support projects that are they're listening to the community, and they're providing projects that respond to the community's needs, not just what the applicant thinks the community needs. So again, the deadline is March 31st, 11:59 p.m. and we are very strict about that cutoff timeline. So we encourage you to submit your application early, so that way if you have any problems, technical issues, internet outages, you have time to get the grant in by the deadline. And we're so concerned with that deadline because we try to have the panel review the grants as fast as possible so that we can get those funds out to you as fast as possible. So this year we're looking at award notifications within the month of April. And the project deadline for when you have to complete the project will be within 1 year of the application deadline. So March 2023, the projects need to be completed. We do ask, we require final reports. They're not super extensive. There's a questionnaire we'll look at later. So after your project is completed, we want to hear about it. We want to see what happened, how it went, what your challenges were, and what your successes were with this grant. Eligibility. You have to be 18 years of age or older, living or working in Orange County, and a member of Orange County Arts Council. So if you're not a member already, let us know and we can work with you. We do have limited options available for supporting those that find membership as a financial barrier. So contact us if you need assistance with that. Number two, you can be, so we said you can be an individual or an arts organization located in Orange County, or an exhibited at a venue in Orange County. So that exhibition space can include towns and municipalities, as well as for-profit organizations. So it's really open to individuals, nonprofit organizations, and for-profit entities that are looking to do social enterprise and nonprofit work in the community. So I see we have a few questions in the grant. And yep, Johanna, you're correct. This, I think April 13th was a different deadline. So this one is March 31st. So do please keep asking any questions you might have in the chat. So if you've applied for this grant in the past, the eligible projects for community arts grants have not changed much at all. The request for funding can directly support different aspects of the project, and they may include venue rental fees, entry, exhibition, or registration fees, artist fees, performances, materials, rental of equipment, instruments, or material to complete work, and promotional expenses. And give me a second here because my slideshow is a little bit slow. So these are aspects, this list of projects that are ineligible for community arts grants. And so we don't allow funding for teaching opportunities when they are receiving educational credit. They can apply to teaching opportunities that are not receiving educational credit, but in order to prevent double dipping, if there is a school that is going to be giving credit for a project, we can't permit that because we would consider that double dipping. Also ineligible is activity related to documentation of work. Again, this is to prevent double dipping. So if a project is already getting paid for by your employer, such as a university or school, we will not fund that activity. And then applicants' own artistic fees. So still we need to have a level of separation between the entity applying and then paying themselves. So if you as an artist want your own artistic fees to be paid, we would recommend that you partner with another entity that might be interested in taking your project on, so that the fees would be distributed to them and then they could pay the artist. But we wouldn't fund a program where an artist said, this is what I want to do and also pay myself. And that helps just keeping everything above board for bookkeeping as well. So the other thing we consider ineligible would be expenses involving establishing, maintaining, or administering an organization or company. So we're not looking for general operating support with this grant. Medical, legal, accounting, insurance, or other administrative fees for the organization would also not be eligible, as well as capital improvements to a building or structure. We also don't allow re-grants through this grant. So we're not looking to support scholarships, awards, or prizes. This is to make sure that community engagement is happening and that we're providing the support in order to grow new things. So the same with it's not going to support a fundraiser or benefit or re-grants. And I see we still have some other people joining us, so welcome. If you're coming in a little bit late, we're just going through the nuts and bolts part of the guidelines, and then we'll have a chance later on for frequently asked questions and for you to ask some questions as well. We're making good time on this, so thank you all for bearing with me. So this is a preview of the final report form, and this is available on our website, and you can download this at any point in time, and it's on that same grant web page. So the final report form, I think, is helpful to look at before you apply, because it will help you realize your goals in your project. So we want to know at the end of the day, were you able to carry out the approved project? And if not, why, right? If COVID regulation changed your plans, or if something happened and you had to pivot and make some adjustments, we want to know what happened. And we also want to know who the key artists and partnering organizations were and what the nature of their involvement was. And that could be committees, community organizations, volunteers. We like to see as many partnerships, meaningful partnerships as possible. And next, we ask you to discuss the extent to which you achieved the primary outcome. So we're looking at specific tools used to evaluate the project. Oops, so how did you evaluate the project? And the last two, describe your process for engaging the community Again, that's very important this year as it was last year, and identifying which communities were engaged. And that doesn't have to be just geographical. That can be communities within communities, including ethnic, racial, income level, any type of community that you have identified that you are engaging. And then is, additional information that you would like to share. Your final report form is very important for us because we are able to collect that data in order to build a case to continue to get more support for these grants in the future. So the steps to apply, we try to keep it fairly simple. We also, as a nonprofit organization, apply to grants frequently and understand how frustrating the grant application process can be. So we try to make it as easy as 1, 2, 3. And so we first put the guidelines on the website, and then the budget form and W-9 form. Once you're on the website, you can just click that link, download the template for the budget and W-9 form and fill it out. You'd save that on your computer, and within the grant application, you're going to see a spot to upload that completed file. And then you'll submit your application through Google Forms. And on the grant website, excuse me, this image is a little bit blurry, but basically you're going to find other resources to help you through the process as well. So there's a video demonstration of how to complete the budget, and other resources that are continuously updated to support you through your grant application process. Okay, we are cruising along. And I do see a few people in the chat about awards within a larger project. So I'm going to save that one. That's a great question till the end. Okay. So yes, please keep asking your questions in the chat and then we can go through them all. So these are some of the frequently asked questions that we receive throughout the process. And if you remember, if you applied for a grant last year, because of the financial challenges due to the pandemic, we weren't able to award grants last year until fall. So even if you've already gotten a grant last year for a project that's happening this year, you can still apply to this 2022 grant application as long as it's a new project. So can I submit more than one application for multiple projects? For this grant, for the 2022 grant application, only one project per applicant will be considered for community arts grant. So I hope that makes sense. So if you applied last fall, you are eligible to apply now, but you can't submit more than one application for this round. Number 2, can I edit my submission after I submit? You can, but it must be before the deadline. And you can do this through, when you log into the Google form, you're going to enter an email address that it's going to identify you with. So you're going to have to make sure that you use the same email address if you want to edit your form. It's just a helpful tidbit. Questions about who is on the panel. We receive this question often, and we do keep the names of panelists confidential. We put the word out to our Arts Outreach Committee to join the panel, as well as identify panelists from other regions and diverse backgrounds, expertise in geographical locations. 5 to 9 panelists are selected, and panelists are not permitted to apply for the grants, and they must sign a conflict of interest disclosure form. And the panelists are amazingly great because it's a lot of reading and review that they have to go through. And there's a lot of great applications, so it's a really difficult job. Next question, what happens if I do not complete the project within 1 year of the award? And that answer is you'd be asked to return the grant funds to the Arts Council if you're not able to complete the project. Now, again, if there's challenges that come up, such as we had many different challenges with the pandemic and guidelines changing, and venues having to delay, we ask that you speak to us beforehand, before you make any changes or if anything needs to be extended, so that the Orange County Arts Council can give the proper approval to extend the timeline if there's a reasonable cause. Number 5, what if I cannot download the budget form online? For some reason, sometimes I think different computers have issues with downloading an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not really sure, but if you have any issues, we can email you that Excel spreadsheet. So just shoot us an email at info@ocartscouncil.org, and we can email you the spreadsheet. So it's simple as that. And you do not need to be a nonprofit to apply. If my organization is partnering with another organization on a project, can we both apply for the same project? No, only one application per project may be submitted. So this gets a little bit tricky, because sometimes an organization will be presenting a certain component of a project versus another component of a project. And I'm trying to think of a good example. If there is a festival and you're providing the music and another organization is providing the visual arts, 2 applications can't be received. It's one application for that entire project. So I hope that answers some of your questions. How do you define public art? This is a really great question, and I think it's an answer that grows all the time and changes. And it's something that's visible and accessible to the public. This is the current definition that we are working with, and that may include public art installations, projects, performance, exhibits, workshops, classes, lectures, presentations, etc. So it's pretty wide open as far as how do you define public art. This grant is not looking to give funds towards individual artist commissions or projects for their own self-gain. There's other grants in the world that are available for that type of work, but this one is really intended for the community engagement. And this is just a list which is available on the guidelines packet as well, of how panelists score the application. So as they review your application, they're first of all going to look for artistic quality, the perceived quality or value. And so to be able to explain the artistic merit and provide enough reasons why this piece has artistic merit, if it's not apparent already. So it's something that you would include within your overall goals. So for example, if you're presenting visual arts, you want to basically back up your case for why this art should be seen and why the community would value it. We're also going to look at your strength of the application. What we see frequently is this is where a lot of applications tend to falter. The panelists generally have done this a few times, and they can tell when not too much time or effort was put into the application. So simple things like, does your budget add up? Have you demonstrated a realistic time frame? And have you secured these commitments from participating artists and locations? So we're looking to really support things that are not just aspirational, but that you've put some real thought into the logistics of making the project come to fruition. And then community impact. So in both qualitative and quantitative terms, answer the question, what makes this project important for Orange County? So qualitative could be, an example could be, this will have meaningful impact on youth that will last them for 10 years because nothing like this is offered in this region. Something that's more storytelling, more narrative. And quantitative terms would be, this will impact 100 people and boosted the local economy 1.5% by the end of the project. There's all sorts of data that's out there that you can use in your toolkit as well to talk about the impact of the arts. So the American data on the arts basically says that every dollar invested in the arts is returned to the local economy 1.8 times, so nearly 2 times. So every person who's engaging in the arts is spending an additional dollar in their local community. And that's generally something that's really nice to be able to present as panelists are reviewing the project. And the last bit is community engagement. And that's where we're looking to, again, oh, give me 1 second here, goodness. Provide specific examples of how you're actively listening and responding to the needs of your community in a meaningful way. You can get feedback from the panelists after the process. You have to request it for us to be able to collect that and send that to you. And next question, moving forward, is it recommended that a music performance group organize as a business or nonprofit? So people ask us if they need to become a nonprofit, and no, you don't need to become a nonprofit. Any type of entity can apply. We recommend having community partnerships and engagement if that makes sense for you. Others have asked just about the logistics of applying. I do not have a Gmail or Google account. How can I submit the application? So signing up for a Gmail account for this purpose is pretty simple. It takes about 2 minutes and it's free to sign up. And there's a link to the instructions for signing up for a Gmail account. If you have issues with that, we can help provide you with an email that you can use for the login purposes so that you can fill out this form. And this is just to be noted, communication is key. In the past year or two, our grant awardees have been really good at communicating with us about different factors and letting us know whether different restrictions or health issues of people they're working with have made it necessary to make changes to their project. We're very understanding of that, so we do just need to know about it. So keep in touch. So that's it for that part of the presentation. We're going to look at the chat now and see what questions we have here. And let me just look at this for a moment. Okay. Can our project involve giving prizes if the funding is not used for that portion of the project? Yes. Yes. So your project can include giving prizes, but this funding cannot be used for those prizes. That is a good question. And then questions about awards within a larger project. I'm guessing that was the similar question. I'm going through now reading your questions. Can multiple artists be included in one project application? Yes, absolutely. And next question, for a concert, can you charge a ticket price? Definitely. Please, feel free to do that. I think that the one determining factor for ticket prices is we look at accessibility and community engagement. So depending on what your goal is, you just want to keep that in mind as you're determining your ticket pricing and how accessible that is going to be to the community you're trying to reach and what you're trying to accomplish. Next question. Do all components of the grant need to be predefined? If we're holding an art show, still looking for the venue, haven't identified the venue, etc. That is such a good question. So if it's not defined, if you want to hold an art show, but don't know where it's going to be, we suggest laying out that plan. So we want to see that you have done as much of the planning work as you can before you submit the application. So if you're looking for a venue, what we would like to see is we have considered partnering with venues at the local library and the community center, or possibly the local restaurant. So we're considering these three venues, and the steps we will take to solidify these venues are A, B, and C. So if you don't have that venue, you should have a clearly laid out plan as to how you're going to select that venue. Because without that plan, it does seem to indicate that the project is aspirational versus something that is tangible and has been thought out. I hope that answers the question. The next question, as a nonprofit in Orange County, can we present a concert featuring artists from outside the area if the event is presented in Orange County? Absolutely. You can definitely present artists from outside the area. If the event is presented in Orange County, that makes it completely eligible. Good question. Thank you, Barry. Is a member of our board eligible to be one of the artists, or does his board member eliminate him from being eligible to receive funds from the grant? That's a good question. From our end, that wouldn't make a difference whether the artist was on your board, but you might want to look at, as a nonprofit, your own bylaws and conflict of interest policies. So that wouldn't affect your application to us, but it might be something that you want to discuss in your own organization, because I know that sometimes different organizations prevent board members from being paid, and different organizations are structured where board members have more hybrid roles, so to speak. So now let's see, I'm just going to stop my screen share for a moment and see all of you, because I couldn't see all of you before, which is jarring. I wanted to see if you wanted to go through the budget form, or if you wanted to ask any questions verbally, I guess, at this point. So if you would like to go through the budget form, can you raise your hand or put yes in the chat if you want to go through the budget form? I see 1, 2. Okay, I see a few that want to go through the budget form, and a few others who are like, this is going to be painful. We're going to do this and it's going to be so fun. Okay, so I'm going to jump on screen share again to go through the budget form. It's, you know, budgets are not always the most fun, but it's something that has to be done. So let me just get out of that slideshow. I'm actually going to go to our website so that I can show you how to access the all of the grant stuff you need. So on our homepage, you'll see a slider that has you can click on, that will bring you to the grant application, or you can click Resources tab, the subheader titled Resources, click on Grants, and here you'll find all of the things you need for the grant application, including the guidelines, and here's the budget form. So I'm actually going to download this directly from the website, just so that we can see how that works together. So it downloaded to my computer screen, and then I'm going to open it up and make sure that we save it. So one thing that we are aware of that we need to change is that this budget form is from fall of last year, and there is a note because the grants were, there it is, $1,500 last year for the maximum, and this year they are $2,000. So that is something that we do need to make an adjustment on. So your total amount requested, it should say may not exceed $2,000. So thank you for your understanding on that. So this is the budget form, which is similar template to other grant budget forms. And so you're going to list the different project expenses first. And you can list the total amount of expenses for your project. And then when you get down here, you'll see this is where it should all add up. And then down here, you're going to be entering your estimated income. So you're going to want to do, if you anticipate any other grants or donations or in-kind things, like somebody's going to provide you with a free venue and waive your rental fee, any types of applicant funds, cash on hand that you're going to use towards this project, etc. And so at the end, here we are. Sorry, my spreadsheet's bouncing around a little bit. Your total income that you anticipate is going to be subtracted automatically from, sorry, the total expenses is going to be subtracted automatically from the total income. And that should equal, when you're all said and done, the amount that you request from this grant. So your project, total project budget, you may have $10,000 in expenses, and you're going to estimate $8,000 coming in income. So that amount that you still need to be funded would be $2,000. So that's what's going to show up here. So this spreadsheet is pretty direct, and also you're able to add NA. So you can put a note, as many notes, and actually we love notes. Any details that you can provide here, you know, if you have artist names, etc. It is actually really helpful to kind of show the amount of detail that you have planned. But you can also enter NA. Maybe you don't have artist fees or mileage and leave that 0. So that's fine. Are there any questions on the budget form?
Does the process allow for attachments? Other
Yes.
attachments?
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's a limit on the file size. So video attachments are difficult. We prefer a video link, for example.
Right.
But yeah, there's a spot to upload additional attachments, including, you know, photos from past projects or marketing materials, things like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Somebody asked, is it okay not to expect any income because of the community project portion of the project? That is okay. Yes, you can expect no income. It's a good question. I think, yeah, it depends on the purpose of the project. It's always nice, I think, for panelists to know that the funds being awarded are going to be leveraged. For example, instead of asking for a ticket price or admission, maybe you just have a donation box at the door of the exhibition. Different things like that that might not be hard expected cash, I think are nice to include so that, you know, your project can continue on in the future to keep growing. Any other questions? This is the best grant info session ever. Thank you guys so much. And I'm sure you'll be in touch directly. Steve, I'll send you an email with that spreadsheet. And we look forward to seeing all of your applications. Keep up the good work, everyone. Oh, one more question. Is it okay if we do make a profit? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Please, yep. Keep growing. All right, we'll sign off now and be in touch if you guys have any questions or want to reach out directly. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.